Julian. We are today starting with chapter 3, and we have dealt with some of the more prologue-ish comments of Tertullian in chapter 1. We saw the initial unveiling of what Tertullian thought of the doctrinal position of praxis. And we're going to go further today into chapter 3 as we examine the further developments that Tertullian is going to make against the one called praxis. So today in chapter 3, the title, as with all of Tertullian's writings, it's a little bit lengthy, but we will read it. Sundry popular fears and prejudices, the doctrine of the Trinity and unity, rescued from these misapprehensions. So he is starting his apologetic work against praxis by really solidifying why it's been misunderstood. And the first part here, the simple, indeed, I will not call them unwise and unlearned. Again, he's calling these that are simple. And I would assume those who probably would not have the formal education of being sophisticated, most likely philosophically of their day, which would be very reflective of Greek philosophy. He will say, I will not call them unwise and unlearned, who always constitute the majority of believers. Now, these simple, indeed, which is emphasis, Tertullian is making the statement that these folks are always the majority of believers. He could be meaning the majority is uneducated, or better yet, the majority, or I wouldn't say uneducated because he said he's not going to call them unlearned, but he would say are startled at the dispensation. Notice this of the 3 and 1, this is in parentheses, of this dispensation on the ground that their very rule of faith withdraws them from the world's plurality of gods to the only true God, not understanding that although he is the one only God, and notice he is the only one God, he must yet be believed, in which his own oikonomia or economia, which another way of saying his economy. So Tertullian is laying the foundation of the economic approach to understanding God. The numerical order and distribution of the Trinity, they assume to be a division of unity. So the first misapprehension that Tertullian is going to work to rescue the doctrine from is going to be, in his mind, rescuing them or the ideas from the idea of dividing God in persons is an assault upon the unity of God. So what does this tell us? That already when those who hear the ideas espoused by Tertullian, because they are novel, they're startled by them. And these are his words. This is it. They were startled. They were shocked. They were gasped, or they were clutching their pearls, as some would say. Whereas the unity, which derives the Trinity out of its own self, is so far from being destroyed that it is actually supported by it. So that he's saying, hey, I know you got it all wrong, but the idea of God being a unified one, hey, this is going to make it better. They're constantly throwing out against us. Now, again, he's here not talking about praxis. He's talking about the simple, who always constitute the majority of believers. This is what they are saying. And how do you know that? Because it says they are throwing out against us that we are preachers of 2 gods and 3 gods. I'm going to start again. They are constantly throwing out against us that we are preachers of 2 gods and 3 gods, while they take to themselves the preeminency, the credit of being worshipers of the one God. Just as if the unity itself with irrational deduction does not produce heresy. So he's saying that you're talking like our viewpoint produces heresy, but your viewpoint produces heresy. And the Trinity, rationally considered, constitute the truth. Now, look, so he's saying, if you take the Trinity not rationally, then it will produce heresy. But when you think about it rationally and you embrace it with great thought, it constitutes the truth. We say they maintain the monarchy or sole government of God. And this is what a monarchy is. And I believe the Queen of England recently died. She was the monarch in a monarchy. It has a monarch, which is the person ahead of it. And so as far as the sound goes, do even Latins And ignorant ones too pronounce the word in such a way that you would suppose their understanding of the monarchia in Greek was as complete. Let me see here. The monarchia was complete as their pronunciation of the term. Well, then the Latins take pains to pronounce the monarchia or monarchy, while Greeks actually refuse to understand the oikonomia or dispensation of the three in one. As for myself, however, if I have gleaned any knowledge of either language, I am sure that the monarchia has no other meaning than single and individual rule. Now notice this. Even Tertullian is maintaining that a monarchy has a single individual rule. So let's watch how his argument further develops. But for all that, this monarchy does not, because it is the government of one, preclude him whose government it is. The government belongs to one, either from having a son or from having made himself actually a son to himself. Now, wait a minute now. You sound modalist. Or from ministering his own monarchy by whatever agents he will make. That sounds like a oneness argument. That's what we're saying. Why can't the monarch have his own kingdom? Why can't he be his own son? Nay, more, I contend that no dominion so belongs to one only as his own, or is in such a sense singular, or is in such a sense a monarchy, as not also to be administered through the other persons most closely connected with it, and whom it has itself provided as officials to itself. If, moreover, there be a son belonging to him whose monarchy it is, it does not forthwith become divided and cease to be a monarchy. If the son also be taken as a sharer in it, but it is as it to its origin equally his, by whom it is communicated to the son. In being his, it is quite as much a monarchy or sole empire, since it is held together by the two who are so inseparable. You see the shuck and jive he just did there? Did you just see that shuck and jive he did there? Therefore, inasmuch as the divine monarchy also is administered by so many legions and hosts of angels, according as it is written, thousands ministered unto him, 10,000s and 10,000s stood before him. And since it has from this circumstance ceased to be the rule of one, so as no longer to be a monarchy, because it is ministered by so many thousands of powers. Tertullian, get out of here. How come it comes it to pass that God should be thought to suffer division and severance in the Son and in the Holy Ghost, who have the second and the third places assigned to them, and who are so closely joined with the Father in his substance, when he suffers so no such division and severance? And the multitude of so many angels. Now, he said he doesn't have any sufferance or divisions, but I would definitely ask anybody to Google the word distinct, and you will find that the root Latin word of distinct, it means severance or to sever. Do you really suppose that those who are naturally members of the Father's own substance, pledges of his love, instruments of his might, nay, his power itself, and their entire system of his monarchy are the overthrow and destruction thereof? You are not right in so thinking. I prefer your exercising yourself on the meaning of the thing rather than on the sound of the word. Do you see the straw man Tertullian sets up? How do we even know this is what they were saying? But this is just listen to how this is from chapter 3. This is when Tertullian really starts to get shady in his argumentation. I prefer your exercising yourself. Tertullian is like the king of apologetic clapback. Now you must understand the overthrow of a monarchy to be this: when another dominion, which has a framework and a state particular to itself, and is therefore a rival, is brought in over and above it, when example, some other god is introduced in the opposition to the creator, as in the opinion of Marcion, or when many gods are introduced, according to your Valentinus and your Prodicus, then it amounts to an overthrow of the monarchy, since it involves the destruction of the creator. He's saying that it's not an overthrow because we're not introducing their part of his essence. I would beg to wager that these Praxians or modalists, they probably aren't saying that the monarchy only exists with the monarch. Like, who is saying that? I would imagine that they're probably saying is that because it is a monarchy, every monarchy only has one monarch. So to say that now the monarchy is shared between three persons, that is an attack on the unity. And as easily as you try to shuck and jive and refix things in there, Tertullian, you have actually, solidified the arguments of your detractors. The monarchy, for a monarchy to be a monarchy, it has to have a single king, right? Now you can look at maybe examples of is that Daniel 5 with Belshazzar, when the writing was on the wall, many TKL Upharsin. Belshazzar was a co-regent of such. Are you saying the Godhead is like co-regency? I think the argumentation has a lot to be desired, and a lot that would really lend itself to be a true scholastic reflection of probably what his detractors are saying. But alas, we don't have their writings, so we're not privy to the exact arguments that they were making. But just reading this from Tertullian, we're starting to see some chinks in there. And I think the first is he went from involving the Trinity in the monarchy to the angels to everything in it. Now, these are definitely extensions of the monarchy in that they are subjects. Who's denying that? I would wage that the people at that time knew that. They definitely would know that the monarchy is not just constrained to the monarch. But this is his argumentation, and we are just assuming, as we have in our last videos. But I have to say, chapter 3 really this one gets under my skin, because it's the first quick shift that Tertullian does to me that really shows an inconsistency. So are you saying there's a co-kingship? If there are 3 kings and the monarchy is related to that of God, those are 3 gods. So if that's what they're saying, I have to agree with them. And so it makes very sense that they would see themselves, if his example of the monarchy is expressive to his idea of God, and they're seeing that God is the king, the monarch, I could see why they could see Tertullian probably has a bastardized version of the true unity of the nature of God. That, hey, remember, this is an Apostolic Pentecostal one God holiness commentary on classical literature. Please share, rate, subscribe, let somebody know we got some good things going. And as always, it's the whole gospel to the whole world by the whole church. The Lord bless you in Jesus' name.